In the early startup stage, we were also very extreme. I'm a big fan of shawarma.
How to understand like which sphere should you explore? There are thousands of these spheres.
The world is changing from studying as a student to practitioner. You can be successful all your life with those goals, and maybe it's not enough. And I think this is magic.
So, Ziv, thank you for having this new episode of my podcast with me. I watched several of your interviews, as I've already mentioned, and you've mentioned that you really enjoy working with clients. So, currently, you are chief customer officer at AppsFlyer. But what specifically do you like about it?
I think it's coming from something very basic, like a core, which is relationships. When AppsFlyer grew significantly, then I got an amazing opportunity to build more relationships with customers. But also then when the company grew, then also internally with the employees, whether if it's in my department or if it's in other departments. Um, and also, when you asked this question, I thought about it's really interesting that, when the company grows and I became a head of and then a VP and then a chief customer officer, then actually with time, I got less time to meet customers. And even if I
Yeah.
meet customers, then I'm not their customer success managers. But in the end, I'll say something maybe more generic here. In the end, if you think about it, doesn't matter if it's a personal relationship, professional relationship, at a customer success level or an executive level. In the end, there's a person on the other side, and that person on the other side, he or she has interests. And if
Yeah.
you understand really well those interests, then you are able to really build a great relationship.
Like working as a you started as a customer support, yes, then you grew up to a VP and then you're C level. But what do you like exactly in people that you've decided to relate your life, the whole life, with this sphere?
I think it's that doesn't matter if it's someone in my team or someone in another team or a customer. In the end, I really like to help them. So some people it's to help them grow in their career. Some people it's to help them to be successful. Now, a customer success manager, in the title, it says what we're trying to do. We're trying to
Yeah.
help the customer, by the way, not specifically the person, but we're trying to help the company that bought our solution to be successful.
So it's for you specifically, it's more about helping real people, or it's helping companies and making something more meaningful and business impactful.
If you go back to my beginning of my time in AppsFlyer, when I was just a customer success manager,
Yeah.
um, then what I really liked is that I was a customer success manager, but I understood very,
Mm-hmm.
very well how it works and what needs to be done and how to integrate whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that over time it scales. And also with customers, so then I get to meet customers and we get to speak and I get to solve a much more strategic issue.
Yes, saying all that, you've mentioned that you've got a big team and it's an international team. Do you consider yourself a good leader?
I consider myself a good learner. Um, I think that we,
That's
we
fair.
are all learners. We're all students, and we should always, I take some part of this soundbite from Simon Sinek. I don't know everything that I need to know, but I'm definitely smarter than yesterday. And I think in leadership, it's very similar because also, you know, the leader that I was 8 years ago, when I even had some already experience, I definitely don't think that it's the leader that I need to be today.
If you could point it out like three top criteria, what makes a leader a good leader? What would you point out?
I think a good leader is first of all is in the details. Now, being in the details doesn't mean that you know everything. If you are a leader but you are a team leader,
Yeah.
Then you need to know about all your critical customers in your team and everything that you need to know about the team members. But if you are a VP, then it's a different thing. Oh, you don't need to know everything about all the team members and everything about all the customers. I think then you need to be able to scale it with your leadership. I think that the second point is a lot around EQ. Everything that needs to be on the side of empathy and how to connect to people. I can say that I do that with all my people, but like I remember names, the names of their kids. I'm trying to remember milestones of things. And it's also really good for connections because people connect on nostalgic. And then
Yeah.
like if you know how to connect that, and by the way, it works also with customers, but it's also works well for leadership. I think the third point is, you can mix a few things, but I think in the end, if you want to be a good leader, then you need to be able to help your team to be successful. So I think that this should be the first and most important point for any leader. How can I take these 10, 20, 50, 100 people
Hmm.
and make them successful?
I'm impressed. You've built a very big international team and you've built up all the processes. But how did you know at that time that you're moving in the right direction? Like back,
You
like
don't.
how many years was it, by the way, when you just started building the team?
It's around 10 years now. So we started
Wow.
to
But
hire the
how
team.
did you how did you know? Weren't you afraid of it, like of making a mistake? How did you measure that you were moving in the right direction?
I think that it's really important in the early years that you measure, but you are not afraid of making mistakes, and you're not focused on especially in startup life. In the beginning, I think that really it's really really important that you run. Sometimes you have a hypothesis and you test it.
Yeah.
For the most part, you have a hypothesis and you just try it. And I'll give you one of the very first hypotheses that we had. At some very, very early point, probably beginning of 2014,
Hmm.
we knew that we want to be as close as possible to the customer. So we decided we are opening offices all over around our customers. So we looked for people to open the offices, to start the offices, though those were not customer success or support people. But then we said the first people that we will be on the ground will be CSMs and support engineers, and
Hmm.
then sales, only then sales. And then um, this test, this experiment, this decision was to be in Beijing, in Bangkok, in San Francisco, and later on in London and more, to be very, very close to our customers. And then we were very close there in their language, in their time zone, whatever, to help them become successful. And also, I think that in the startup stage, in the early startup stage, we were also very extreme. So if a CSM today manages 20 accounts,
Yeah.
then in the early days, we had so many CSMs that you can manage 5 accounts, 6 accounts, 7 accounts. So you had a lot of time to help customers, and it was really good. It was I'm sure that you can connect that to the first 5 years of success of AppsFlyer.
Being a C level is, I can imagine that. I don't know, but that might be very challenging. But how do you like balance it between the work and between the family?
First of all, I think it's a big challenge because again, if I speak about the last 10 years, and in the
Yeah.
last 10 years, my family grew. Only in my last 12 years, the family grew from two to five.
Wow.
And then work-life balance, it's never perfect. Like, in the early startup life of AppsFlyer, I was working really, really hard
Hmm.
long before I was at a C level. And then I think over the years, it evolved to be much better. So in the early days, I was working 14, 16 hours. I was flying a lot. I was not here a lot. It wasn't perfect. It was far from being perfect. And I think that over time, the company grew. The company became more mature. There's more people, so I don't need to really work Friday, Saturday these days, etc. But I think that over time, and also it's also connected, and it's something that I really believe in. It's also a lot of lead by example. So it's like if you are working as hard as you can, then your team will look at you and they will try to work very hard. You need to lead by example of what you want the work-life balance to turn out.
You said that you don't usually have much time to spend with the friends. How do you spend your free time, if you have it, when you have it?
Yeah. So again, for me, it's walking, listening to podcasts. Doesn't necessarily needs to be work related. Hearing music, playing the guitar, spending time with the family. I like to travel. I like food, so definitely I spend a lot of time eating different things and in different restaurants and different levels. It can be Michelin, but it can be also shawarma. Uh,
Of course,
yeah,
especially in Israel.
I'm a big fan of shawarma. So I think in food, and you can find it in shawarma, but we'll speak about it in a second. So there's a term, probably I heard about it first like 8 or 10 years ago, something like that, and it's called umami. And the umami is like, it's something like when a few different like balances of taste becomes into something that you can say that that's the yummy part of the food, and then you can find it in churned, and you can find it in shawarma, and you can find it in a very high level dishes in Michelin when someone is trying to find the balance of things.
Yeah,
And you definitely have it in shawarma. Definitely,
it's
umami is there.
interesting word. I've never heard about it. Umami.
Yeah,
Can you please share top two priorities that are the most important for you in life?
yeah. I think first of all is having fun. This should be the fuel. Like, now working can have fun or not, but and also spending time with the family, but like in order to get fueled, you need to have fun. So that's for sure. I think second, it's connected to what I said before with the learner. I think you always need to learn. And it's funny enough, I wasn't a good student. I was not a good student in high school, and definitely not in the university. And I knew that I'm not good at studying, but at some point I realized that I'm good at practicing. So not at studying, but at practicing. So today I enjoy learning. I'm not reading books, but I'm listening to books, and I'm
Hmm.
listening to podcasts. And then I think what I'm good at is that I'm good at practicing, or being a practitioner. The world is changing from studying as a student to practitioner. I'm looking for something else. I'm not sure if I think those 2 points are definitely there. Maybe something to connect to that. And I think you always need to have very high goals, which is
What do you
hard to
mean by
reach.
high goals?
It's tough goals, high to very very tough to reach, so that you will have something to aspire to work for, etc.
But it's what I'm seeing right now. My friends, my generation. When you're setting up like very difficult and high goals for yourself, your whole life it becomes way too stressful for you because there are different times in life, and when you just simply don't have enough resources to invest and to reach these goals. But how to like understand that right now is not the time, and you just can slower a bit, that you can allow yourself to slow down.
it's a very interesting point because I think that you can definitely balance or set a lower goal, but then I think that the question will be: are you trying enough? Are you investing enough to fulfill your potential? You can be successful all your life with those goals, and maybe it's not enough. You need to ask yourself, like, is that success or that success? Is that CEO of 10,000 people? Is that CEO happy?
Yes, and that's also interesting topic. Like being successful, does it mean that you are happy? Because when you're just speaking to yourself, like being a C level of the company, I don't know, having a fancy car or having fancy apartments, it doesn't mean that internally like you're happy.
For
That's
sure
also a
not.
question.
For sure not. And also, we know that people cope. People, in the end, you're getting used to. So, like, oh yeah, it's
Yes.
you have something new, and then a few months after, you're already used to it. So now you want something more.
Do you
So,
consider yourself a happy person?
for the most part, yes. For the most part, most times, yes, definitely. Sometimes I know what I need in order to be happy. So sometimes it's just to take the kids and go to a movie, and that's very easy and approachable. Sometimes it's to listen to music in the car, and maybe to sing loud because I'm only allowed to do it there because I'm not a good singer. Sometimes material is good, and then I bought my iPhone 15, and uh, for a few hours I was excited, etc., and improved my feeling. But like I notice about myself. So
It's interesting that you've mentioned like I bought an iPhone and I for several hours felt this feeling of satisfaction, of happiness. But I think that it's kind of tricky to be fueled by some material things.
again, I think that it's also coming from a very, again, core point from my childhood. Like we were always okay, but we didn't have a lot of money, but we were
Hmm.
always okay. And then I think I really like that I'm independent. For me, that's a core point. I looked for those points to have confidence.
Which advice could you give like for my generation when we are looking for a job? How to understand like what's better to choose, money or the satisfaction from work? I know that there should be a balance, but let's be honest, sometimes you have to pick.
You need to go to that point from an earlier point. Like it's yeah, definitely we can speak, and we need to speak about like money or fulfillment, fun, or whatever. I think first of all there needs to be a lot of passion. I think the majority of the world works in things that they don't like. But I think a very good point to start with before someone goes to study something or to trying to join a company, I think they should do something they like and that they have passion for. Yeah, and I think that the world is very materialistic, and like in the end, like the people that has money will have better life. Some will not be happy, some will, but the majority will have better life. And I think it's another topic, but the world is changing, and I don't think that we really understand like what is the revolution that is becoming here. And because I think that still some people are today selecting some jobs and starting careers in some jobs that will not be here in 2 years.
And which feelings do you have when you think about it? Like you're anxious about it, or it's like something optimistic for you?
I think it's optimistic if you put it in the right framework. So if you go back to the learner, if you are a learner, then you should be optimistic about it. Look at two groups of people. So like there's the group of people today that they learned ChatGPT, OpenAI, and they use it. And then there's another group of people that they still work but they don't use ChatGPT and they don't know anything about AI. So they have a disadvantage, definitely.
Yes, but I think that a good word also here it's not only learners but being curious in life
Absolutely. I think that learning starts from curiosity.
and having this. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
But I
definitely.
think curiosity is not enough. Curiosity is a trigger. And then, because you can have someone curious and they
Hmm.
learn a lot of bits of starting of subjects. But if they don't go deeper, then they're just curious and they're not learners.
But how to understand like which sphere should you explore? There are thousands of these spheres.
Uh,
Uh,
so you need to find what's interesting and important for you. And then again, like AI, you don't need to. I'm not saying that everyone should now incorporate that into their day to day and it should help them improve their work. I'm just saying, like, you can just use AI once a week. And then I think that like this is maybe the first wave of AI. It will be for people to perfect their time.
that's
I can give you, one of my ideas, or like I don't want to develop it, but I definitely want to consume it. Is like in the end, ChatGPT knows me pretty well, and they can also ask me a few other questions like what subjects I'm interested in, what do I want to learn, and then instead of me looking for a new book or listening to a new episode in a podcast, then they can know that I'm interested in customer success, B2B SaaS, marketing analytics, marketing and advertising, and then they can give me 4 minutes of a podcast episode that spoke about relationships, and then ask me if I want to hear the entire episode. And the morning after, to bring me an article of Adam Grant speaking about leadership. Instead of me trying to, I cannot optimize my time. Doesn't matter how well I do it. I'm not an LLM.
but I know I have this feeling that these all changes and technological innovations they provoke in us the self-matureness, because only if you're mature enough to use these technological advantages with the wisdom, then this will positively affect your life. But if these changes they will just affect your life, that you will become a lazy person that doesn't want to, I don't know, at least read, then it's a disaster for the mankind and so on.
I fully agree. I just say in the end, today, I have time to read maybe 1 hour. So I'm just saying, like, use AI to choose really, really well what to read in the 1 hour.
With all these changes, with all these new technologies and so on, the world changing, which advice would you give to your children right now, like when they achieve the age of, I don't know, 18, 20
Give them those advice today. I always give them
already?
yeah, definitely. It's like they are the children of the screen
That's true.
from a very, very early age, and I'm not against them. I'm for it, for sure. Um, I always told them, like, learn things, read, see movies, look, like, check what's interesting for you, what are you interested in, and then develop it. And I think I'm only here to guide them, so like push them towards some direction, for them to explore, for them to discover, for them to decide if it's for them. So I have one kid played the cello. After 4 years, he decided he wants the piano, and
Hmm.
we challenged him a little bit about it. But in the end, like we let him to take the decision, and he moved. I could have pushed them to continue more with those first instruments, but I think that for them to investigate, for them to say why they want to change, they didn't need to explain it to me. I listen, but they explain it for themselves. And around 18, probably some of these discussions will go more towards what do you want to do.
And what do you think will be your role of the family when kids are already grown ups and they have to pick? Should the parents give them some advices, or how should it work?
We are the net. We are the, like in the circus, when the clown is flying on the trapeze, and there's a net.
Yeah.
We are the net, so like they can make decisions, they can make mistakes, and for some level of mistakes, we will be the net for them. So we will be there to guard them until a certain point, and then I don't know to tell you that if I will be 10 years net for them, or will be independent faster, etc. And it's also very individual. I have 3 boys, and I'm sure that each of them will be different. One will leave at 18 and will go and study abroad, and one will stay at home until 28.
That's a good scenario. What annoys you in people?
Wow, it's a tough question. I think when they are very loud and noisy, I think that's the most irritating for me.
And for what do you respect people?
I respect people for being real, for saying the truth, for being open.
And Ziv, my very last question that I ask everybody: what is your superpower?
Responsiveness. I'm highly responsive. I tend to answer most people within a few minutes. So some people are like even faster.
It's like, how do you categorize whether this is something worth responding, or you just respond to everybody?
My superpower is that, like, for a lot of people, whether if it's family, friends, and work, I really want to be responsive, because in the end, if you think about it, I can tell you that I cherish you, and then you are VIP, you are most important, whether if you are a customer or now a friend of mine. But if I respond to you in 10 seconds, then you feel
Yes.
that you are a VIP without me saying. And I think this is magic.